Canadians, on the whole, are more complacent than Americans. It's not an insult. It's a difference in culture. It's a difference in history, where Americans and those who flocked to America to seek a better life and to fight for freedom and for a better life had a different mentality. The country that fought the British for its own independence is far different than one that relied on Britain to grant it its rights.
That was me. People.
Canadians,
that was me.
On the whole.
Those wise words came from this ugly punum. Oh, good afternoon. Wasn't planning on going live today because I'm tired. I'm cranky. I didn't sleep well. I had to get up too early to take some kids to the airport. But we need to do an update on the Coutts 4. There were some stories that I wanted to get to over the weekend, and I didn't get to them. So I got some stuff on the backdrop that we need to talk about. Now, something's bothering me here because it's not symmetrical, and we're going to live with it. My wife was saying that it's getting too crowded in the back, but I can't figure out what to take out. This is a beautiful painting of Winston sleeping on my shoe. Hold on a second. I don't want to reveal anything that's not for everyone. Rebecca Stamen. Instagram. Well, I guess we can. Hold on. I'm going to take this off. It's beautiful. Look how flipping beautiful this is. The shoe is from Murph's Kicks. He sent this me. Awesome custom shoes. They're actually comfortable. I jogged them into the ground. That's Winston sleeping. And it's Rebecca. Get over here. Rebecca Stamen. Etsy. It's magnificent. Can't take that out of the backdrop. Here, everyone get that? Okay, let's put this back here. Lover of dogs and defender of truth. Okay. Then I got my old license plate. We've got Silent War, 5 Times August's latest album. I got it on vinyl, haven't opened it. I got my Rumble statue there. Got another one there. So anyways, okay, fine. Enough show and tell. What else was I going to say? Oh, the interview that I just showed you. That's a segment of the most recent PragerU interview that I did towards my birthday in May, June. I forget the exact date. They just released it last week. The same day Justin Trudeau announced Splitsville from Sophie Gregoire, who we then discovered is now no longer bound by those pesky disclosure obligations under the Conflict of Interest Act. And we discovered that Sophie Gregoire incorporated a communications company a year ago. Justin Trudeau, 2 days before announcing Splitsville from Sophie, appears in public with a perfectly round bruise in the center of his forehead. Some people were suggesting it might have come from paintball, but that would have left a much bigger welt, maybe like one of those airsoft guns. Who the hell knows? None of my business, but we're going to talk about the Coutts 4 today. We've talked about this a number of times now. Jason Lavigne, his Twitter handle is Jason Lavigne MP because he's an aspiring member of Parliament. Lavigne, Lavigne. Might be the father of Avril Lavigne. Who knows? He was on, gave us a rundown. He's been at court in Lethbridge talking about this, covering this. All right, so that's it. That's the intro. What was I about to say? Standard disclaimers, you all know them. No legal advice, no medical advice, no election fortification advice. And my sweet, merciful goodness, if anybody missed last night's stream, Barnes and I say more Barnes than I, went on. And I say when he went on, he went off on the Trump indictment. I posted that as a separate highlight on Viva Frei. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. Those are the standard disclaimers. You all know how it works. If you're new here, we start on YouTube and Rumble and vivabarneslaw.locals.com. And then we're going to end this, I think, after the interview with Jason. And I'm going to head over to Rumble exclusively. And then we'll go over to Locals after that and have a bit of the after party. So Jason Lavigne, independent journalist. I still refuse to call myself a journalist. I'm an analyst. Lavigne is a journalist. And he's a good, great, independent one covering the Coutts 4. Jason, you ready? Bringing you in. 5, 4, 3, 2. Hold on. That's here. 1. Sir, how goes the battle?
It goes well, and I got some explaining to do about the Avril thing you just mentioned there.
let me bring you out. We're going to do wide for a second. I want to see what's in your backdrop.
Sure.
Innocent until proven guilty.
I have a license plate too. I got innocent until proven guilty. The Coutts 4 men, absolutely, they are innocent until proven guilty. We have upside down justice.
You're not in the back of an F-150, are you? That looks like the window.
Close. I'm in a 5th wheel trailer. So I'm where
Okay.
the table should be for your kitchen. So that's a kitchen table in a fifth wheel trail.
Beautiful. So innocent until proven guilty.
Yes.
A maxim of justice that communists and fashion to forget all too often. Artur Pawlowski. Did you have Artur on?
He's on actually just after this. So once I'm done with you, I'll be speaking with Arthur.
Son of a gun. He's supposed to be coming on. And I think we did book something. Ooh, let me make sure I didn't double book. Okay, I'm going to get to him afterwards. Artur is going to come on. We're going to have.
I'll arm wrestle you for him if we have to.
No, there's more than enough time. We can take all of Artur's Wednesday.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then you got justice upside down because the world has gone mad. All right, now I'm going to bring you back into the main focus here. So, sir,
thank you.
What's the good word?
Well, the good word is the week ended, and it ended with the men still where they were at. They're going to be looking at that time for a little bit longer. The quick news is November 1st is the next scheduled court date, but there is a bail hearing for Chris Carbert in October. And there's a chance that the judge may make a decision on the CC1 application at any time. He could actually schedule something with court at any time. But we're not expecting it right now, and we don't have any information on a new court date for the revealing of the CC1 application information.
All right, now we're gonna not presume the knowledge of everybody out here. We're gonna do a brief summary. The Coutts for our four gentlemen. I'm gonna forget. It's Chris Carbett.
Chris. Yep.
Go for this.
Chris Lysick.
Yep.
Tony Olenek and Jerry Morin,
who have been in detention now. They've been detained in remand, not even jail, so it doesn't even have the privileges that prison has. Since February, give or take, February 19, 2002.
February 13th, 2022, and I'll make it 540 days today.
540 days.
Remand.
Arrested on charges of conspiracy to commit murder. Those are the very serious charges. Full disclosure, I believe it's all politically trumped up hogwash. Period. Full stop. You know, they could have charged Tamara Leach with conspiracy to commit murder, and it would have been barely more plausible or more outrageous. So they were charged with conspiracy to commit murder against an RCMP officer. This is when the CBC ran that very scary picture of a bunch of firearms. I'm not saying weapons, but firearms, all but a couple of which were non-restricted long arms.
Correct.
Ballistic vessels, not even ballistic. There were some vests in there. One ballistics vest, which is legal to own with a permit. There was one Diagonlon patch somewhere in there, which, you know, is going to be what ties Jeremy McKenzie into all of this kerfuffle.
I have no information on that.
Okay, so I'll be much quicker with the summary. They were arrested on charges of conspiracy to commit murder. From what I understand, the bulk of the evidence consists of what they disclosed to two undercover, apparently young and attractive RCMP officers at a bar. No recordings. There might be some text messages. Who knows what they say? You know, the tone in which they were written. But by and large, scant evidence at best. But you can flesh that out. And they've been in jail, not released on bail, despite the fact that convicted terrorists who were released and then accused of terrorism again get bail, despite the fact that accused cop killers in Ontario get bail, despite the fact that the dude who ran over 4 people at the protest in Winnipeg got bail. They don't get bail. And we're to believe that they're not political prisoners. Okay. And that, in light of everything else we know the RCMP has done, texting about how funny it would be to bring a horse into the protest, all the other corruption that we know has gone down from the federal government, spying on Canadian citizens, using propaganda on Canadian citizens during COVID. So we know all of that, but we're to believe that these charges are very serious and very credible that can warrant unconstitutional and inhumane detention going on 500 and some odd days. Okay. Summary. What's going on?
Well done.
Thank you.
Well, we went to court on Monday. So what happened there was that was the result of an application for voluntariness for Chris Carbert, because he gave his interview, some people call it confessions, but we call them interviews here in Canada, to the police officer under duress, under medical duress. So there was a question of whether or not he reached the level of voluntariness for his actual interview. The judge determined he was just there. He was just there. So that application didn't succeed in order to remove that. Tuesdays when everything
slow down there. The application was to withdraw what is being referred to as his confession by the media.
Correct. So yeah, we call it an interview here, but confession is how people refer to it.
Well, the media has been referring to it as a confession because they want to make it seem like it's already a foregone conclusion.
Correct. Yeah, there's no confession there in the traditional sense where he admitted to anything. It's an interview where he provided information under medical duress. So the question was whether or not his mental state was competent during that interview, and the judge did deem it to be competent. The contents of it didn't provide a confession, but the contents are now admissible during the trial, if we ever get to that point.
Are you able, again, there's publication bans on the one hand, but then there's also just general privacy on the other. Are you able to flesh out, was it made public what his medical duress was?
It's related to a condition that he had when he was younger, and he requires medication daily in order to fulfill his needs for the day, and that was being withheld from him. So he was being withheld from a required medication, a prescribed medication.
And tell me, did you see the judge deliberating on this? Like, is the judge a man or a woman? Not that it changed anything.
He's a male.
Okay, so did the judge
He
say,
identifies as a male for now.
Now, was he saying, well, did he actually pontificate and say, well, it's pretty close, they were, coercing him or whatever, or did he just say, no, flat out, this is admissible?
He did say that portions of it was absolutely close to the line where it shouldn't have been, but because there was moments of clarity during it, that was what upheld his decision. So he was able to point to moments of clarity, but he certainly said the entire thing was troublesome.
Okay. Trying not to swear today. I'm trying to turn over a new leaf.
Sure.
I swore a lot. Yeah, that's a load of shit. I mean, it's close to the line. If you're getting close to the line, as far as I'm concerned, you've already passed the line. And if you observe that you're getting close to the line, it's because you've passed the line. So
yeah, I would have to agree with some of the things. I was disappointed overall, but there were moments of what perceived to be clarity. If you read it verbatim, it maybe sounds like it, but if you look at it in the context, it's difficult to really say there's clarity there.
Okay, so the motion to remove his interview or to not allow as
non-admissible,
dismissed. So his interview, and do we know what it says in that? Is that available to the public, or is that part of the publication ban?
It was played in the court, and as far as I know, there's no accredited media that actually recorded it in the court, so we don't have a record of that outside of the court.
Okay. And the general, it was a recorded interview, or was it transcribed?
It was recorded, so the family got to watch the terror that he was going through and the medical conditions he was going through. I wasn't there for the playing of that. That was in a previous day, but I did speak to the family who watched that, and it was horrific for people to watch. He was in medical duress. It's
a video. It's like what we imagine, like a swinging what's the word, iridescent light or something. It's like he's in a room and they're asking him questions, and they videotape that and then play that in court.
It was a little bit worse than that. He was actually heaving over in pain. He was responding to a medical condition. It was physical for him, and it was distressful to watch. But during that, he was able to speak, answer questions, say answer stuff. For example, I don't need a lawyer. One thing everybody should know is all three of them or four of them didn't have an initial lawyer because they didn't ask for one. This was part of the challenge.
I feel like playing Pot Brothers at Law. Shut the F up. Like, how you doing? Very well, officer. Am I being detained? I'd like to talk to my lawyer.
Yes. Yes. The conversation after is you don't talk, even in medical duress. And even if you think you'll be out of medical duress in order to talk, don't talk. That's the situation he was sitting in.
What did the family have to say when they spoke to you?
They were in distress over that particular watching that video, watching it in court. It was distressing for them because he was physically distressed. He was heaving over, groaning, making sounds while they were trying to interview him.
When was that? That was initially upon detainment, or was that what time?
That would have had to been that would have to been the 14th of February, 14th or 15th. It would have been around that time because he was sick the night before. That's why he was sleeping when they arrested him the morning of the 14th.
Okay. So that motion dismissed. The interview will be admissible as evidence. You're not entirely aware of the details of the video. And there might be a publication ban anyhow, because there's a publication ban on a portion of this stuff. What else happened?
Well, that was Monday. That was the afternoon. That was done. I was happy to see some press there. So there was accredited media there for that today. We had the next day start, which was the arguments for the application for the CC1, which is an application that was created around in disclosure that was inadvertently provided to the defense, which defense feels is very damning for the Crown, and they used the term crime fraud on it. So around this application, there were arguments for Tuesday or Wednesday and Thursday around whether or not that the judge should pierce client solicitor privilege and open up this envelope to take a look at the contents of it.
Do you know what the CC1 stands for?
Criminal Code 1 application.
Okay. And so, and I know that this can't be the subject of a publication ban because I know it and I haven't read anything under the ban. That was a letter which was inadvertently communicated to the defense, which basically indicated that there were some questions as to the legitimacy, the constitutionality, the lawfulness of the course of action of investigating or prosecuting these individuals. And there was a retack of strategy afterwards. And the defense wants to say, well, what the heck happened? You pursued what you were advised was an improper line of investigation or whatever. Do you have any more details than that?
Yeah, so there's first thing I'll talk about is the publication ban that was put onto some of this on Thursday itself. So Thursday, the Crown actually was successful in putting a publication ban. The publication ban is going to cover the contents of this envelope, and I'm told it's 4 lines, just 4 lines that the judge needs to read. And then the decision of the judge himself will be under a publication ban. It's a temporary publication ban, so he didn't put in a permanent one in. And he didn't seal the documents. So when the time comes, I will be able to go look at the documents in the courthouse, but I won't be able to tell you what's in it. That's a temporary publication ban that's put in place. The information that's in there, like we said, the defense believes it's crime fraud, which is a technical term for a lawyer providing illegal advice for the commission of a crime. The defense did say that the contents of this would affect Charter Section 8, which would be search and seizure. But the quote from the defense was, this is not just a charter issue, it's much more than that. So they're certainly lining up some sort of criminal code potential violation. Potentially, the advice itself was criminal in nature. We don't know what that advice was, but that's the wording that's coming out of the defense on this particular envelope.
And I can just hear people saying, oh, if we're going to want to prosecute potential unlawful legal advice in this circumstance while pardoning it in the United States, where people are arguing that the advice that Trump got was illegal constitutional challenges. I can imagine. I have no idea what that letter could contain, but I can imagine how they were advising them to unlawfully spy, because we know that the government was doing that under the pretext of COVID. We can know that I can imagine they might spy on his phone. We don't have a warrant. Too bad. Go. Let's ask for the cell phone data. I can imagine those things. Okay, interesting. So that debate lasted the better part of 3 days or 3 court days.
I got to tell you, the Crown did a spectacular job delaying and causing adjournments. They were able to pull tricks out of their sleeves. Example, a last-minute affidavit, which caused the defense to ask for an adjournment to review the affidavit, which wasted an entire afternoon on Tuesday. On Wednesday, the Crown changed their argument about a particular item, which again caused the defense to adjourn in order to adjust their responses to the new argument. In either cases, it really just caused, I think, an entire day to be lost during the little window of time that we had for 3 days to have these arguments. They were successful at doing that, and it was kind of weird to watch, to be honest with you. But I get it. They were trying to prolong what they were doing here on the arguments. The arguments did close on Thursday, and the judge did recognize that this will be new case law. There is no case law for this particular situation, and this is why he's taking his time, and he's going to make a decision, because
it's going to be Did he indicate? I mean, it's going to be a written decision, but did he indicate like he might issue an oral decision given the time urgency, or he's going to wait for a full written decision?
Okay, so the arguments around that was the defense wanted the decision immediately. Obviously.
Yeah, motivated later. Because just so people understand this as well, the judge can say, I'm going to issue a more detailed written decision later. For example, on bail, look, you're out now and I'll justify it while you're out, as opposed to keeping you in over the weekend while I write it, which they sometimes do to be, to needle. So what did the judge say about that?
Well, the Crown wanted to open up the envelope at the end of the trial. And the judge says he'll open it up at least by the beginning of the trial, which will be in May 2024. He did then indicate after that he can open up much sooner than that. There's 2 decisions for the judge to make. The first one is to pierce the veil. The second one is to act upon the information. He doesn't know that information yet, so there'll have to be another decision and potentially arguments around the contents of that envelope as well before a final decision is made on the action of the contents of that envelope.
Did you say that the trial is scheduled for May 2024?
May 27th, 2024,
How many days is it scheduled for?
through June. So I think 6 weeks.
May
And that takes us
2024.
Yes, Mark. That's amazing, isn't it? And that's taken us close to the Jordan date, which will be in August 2024, which means they would be set free because that would be 30 months straight of delayed trial.
Well, and not just delayed trial, detention, pre-trial
Correct.
detention in
Correct.
remand. It's one thing to have a delayed trial when you're out living your life. It's another thing to be in detention, having your life stolen from you while you wait for a trial to figure out whether or not you're going to get acquitted. Holy
Absolutely.
cows! And
Now-
6 weeks. Is it 4 days a week, or is it going to be 5 days a week?
Well, just from what we've had so far, it was 5 days a week. And there is an application to move it to another venue to speed it up. And ironically, it's the Crown who's asking for that application. They might be trying to cut the time for the defense to prepare or whatnot, but the Crown is trying to get it into another venue to speed up that trial. So there may be a chance to do soon.
To speed up the date, not the actual trial. It would still be 6 weeks or
Correct.
whatever.
To start it as sooner.
Do we know what venue do they want to change it to? Ottawa?
Calgary.
The Ottawa was a joke. I'm just trying to think. If
that would be horrible because right now we're in provincial court, thankfully, because some of the people that went through federal court on charges haven't done so well. James Sowery was convicted by a federal jury here in Alberta for running over a pylon, but the officer was scared, so he got convicted of scaring the officer or violent actions against the officer. But he ran over a pylon, made a big bang, and he is now facing sentencing.
Wait, James Sowery?
Sowery. Sowery.
Sowery. I
Yes.
don't think I heard about this story.
Not many people know about these other stories that are happening
Coutts,
in Alberta and all over.
Hold on 1 second. Well, we're going to learn in real time. It's amazing. Like I just 2 weeks ago, Brendan Strock, one of the January Sixers, puts out a story about this state. He had a state function. I forget what it was. It was an elected function removed from office because he participated in insurrection, according to the judge, under the radar, like happened in 2022.
Yeah.
Let me share this here. Coutts protester guilty of assault at check stop for driving truck at officer. James Sowery faced charges of assault with a weapon and dangerous driving. And by the way, not to say that past is prologue. When one understands they charged Randy Hillier for assault on a police officer. Randy Hillier, the member of provincial parliament, because he moved a barricade to let protesters go up the stairs on Parliament Hill. That was the alleged assault. I can imagine what happened here. Dude might have just run over a flipping pylon. Let me see what
I could take you through it. I've interviewed James. I could take you through what happened here. It's
he's charged with assaulting a police officer. This sounds like one of the stories out of a movie. We'll get there. Connected to the Alberta. He was found guilty. They deliberated for 6 hours. He accelerated his hydrovac truck towards Constable Corey Kornicki, who had been conducting traffic stops. Yada, yada, yada. He was convicted on both charges, assault with a weapon and dangerous driving. Is he in jail in the interim?
No, but his sentencing is coming up in September. So we're working
tell
hard
us what
to
happened
try.
here.
Okay, so what actually happened was he pulled over at a check stop. The story says that part. He was waved in by the police officer to start going. He started going. He got too close on the back right-hand side of his truck to those pylons. He drove over a pylon. It's winter. It exploded. The officer dove away from the vehicle as if he was being shot at. The officer went and got hurt when he did that. There's your assault with a deadly weapon, and there's your other charge. That's all he did.
What movie was it? It was a movie about racial injustice where the guy was in jail talking to a black inmate, and the inmate says, it was a sort of a comedy. I don't think it was supposed to be a true story, but says, I'm in here because I was stealing a television and I dropped it. When they told me to put my hands up, it landed on somebody's foot. Was that Shawshank Redemption? Anyhow,
I think so. Yeah, that was Red. That was how he was coming out, wasn't it? That's how Red.
And he dropped it on an officer's foot.
And he says, "You want me to drop it?" Yeah, like that. It's similar to that.
Now and this just depends on who you believe. Do you believe the defendant?
Sure.
Or do you believe the cop? He went and tried to run over a cop, and the cop
during the trial. During the trial, the police officer did admit he went back to work. Went back to work the next day. Took no time off. However, on the stand, he did cry about the PTSD that he received during it. So we can take that for what it's worth. He did give testimony that he was traumatized, this officer. He did continue to work immediately after.
No, it's tough not to get cynical. You hear the testimony of the January 6 officers, traumatized, injured, sobbing, and then lo and behold, video footage comes out of the dude who allegedly sustained catastrophic injuries to his hand or his foot. Just
Right.
totally fine. That guy's gonna. How much time does he face? Did they mention it?
Oh, I think it's quite a significant
substantial.
amount. Yeah, it's significant because this is assault on an officer with a deadly weapon. It's significant.
All right. Well, thanks for the black pill detour now. So
My apologies on that, but it is happening. We're getting more and more stories like that. We got Pat King, Tamara Lynch. We got a lot of people who are facing obscene amounts of time just
what's the latest on Pat? So Tamara Leach's trial, she's coming up with Chris Barber in
September 18th or so, September something.
Very soon. She's got a wildly long trial for mischief. What's Pat King's situation now? Pat King, for everybody who doesn't know, went viral. It's 2 years ago now when he was on the Stu Peters show and purportedly, discovered how to conquer the COVID mandates. And I said, nah, it's not exactly what's happening, but he's, nothing against Pat King whatsoever. What happened? What's his update?
Well, he's allowed to go online now and do interviews. So I'll be having him on the 17th. I'm sure he'd love to come speak with you. And he's really only allowed to fundraise for his legal fees because he's got substantial fees. So the court did give him a relief in order to go raise funds to pay his legal bills. But he's not allowed to do anything else. He's got a 10 p.m. curfew and he's working hard to continue with his defense.
He can, if he wants to come on, he is more than invited. So let him know and you'll give him my info.
Yeah, I'll connect you to immediately after this. Yes.
Okay. Who else is there? You got Chris Barber, Tamara Leach, Pat King.
Yep. And 125 other named people. So over the last week and a half, my team has been collecting information all over Canada about the forgotten people. Of course, we can remember Pat and the gentleman here in Coutts, but there's a lot more who are forgotten. So we're up to 129 named people. And these are people that we're reaching out to or anybody touched by the criminal justice system in Canada over their work, advocation, or anything to do with the freedom movement. If that's happened to you, including debanking, we want to hear from you. So we're up to 129 people right now, Viva, and climbing. So we'll be breaking that story a lot more over the next few weeks.
No, it's amazing. And people fault and then get suspicious. Like, why aren't people covering the Coutts 4? Those are the biggest names. 129 and to greater or lesser degrees of alleged criminal infractions.
Correct. Well, we have people in jail, for example, tomorrow, Jeremy McKenzie, Pat King. We have people who are charged. We have people who pleaded. We have people who are convicted, like James Sowery. And Freedom George, he pleaded in order to get back home to his family. So we have a large amount of people who've been forgotten over the last year and a half who've been touched by the criminal justice system here in Canada.
You got updates? I mean, I'm in touch with Jeremy all the time anyhow, but you got updates on Jeremy?
Jeremy's doing well. So chatted with him today. He's pretty frustrated with some events that happened over the last few days, but he's dealing with it in his way. He's upset with Ezra. I think some of us have seen that video or the audio that's going around. So I'm sure he's going to deal with that in his own way. But the information I want to bring to you that we found out on Friday was Diagonlon is not mentioned in any of the court documents, the disclosure, or any parts of the court proceedings, except for the word Diagonlon patch when identifying the patch in the photo. Jeremy McKenzie is not mentioned in any of the documents either. It's in the public court of opinion where this connection is being made. It's not in the actual Lethbridge criminal court where this connection is being made. And that's a challenge because the family is very, very sensitive to the fact that this Diagonlon keeps coming up as like the boogeyman related to their men. But yet that's not the real case. And that's not even what the court documents are trying to allege at this stage.
Yeah, I listened to the podcast, Ezra's podcast today. I mean, there was clearly, it was a video, but I caught it on Podbean or Spotify or whatever.
Spotify or something like that, yeah.
I'll tell Ezra publicly, privately, I think he's wildly wrong on this Diagonlon Jeremy McKenzie situation. Rebel has done great work. I just think they're making not a mistake in like the threatening sense. I think they are objectively wrong, or at least Ezra is objectively wrong when it comes to his assessment of the Coutts 4, Diagonlon, Jeremy's not involvement, but connection. But for the fact that it's there's no evidence that I even know of that these 4 men were indoctrinated, motivated, encouraged by Diagonlon. And there's also, other than idiot politicians and parliamentarians who think Diagonlon is a meaningful threat, There's nobody else out there who even regards Diagonlon as anything other than a meme factory on the interwebs that might, make mean tweets every now and again. And if they're racist, they certainly show it in bizarre ways by having a very culturally diverse crowd. And if they're anti-Semitic, they also show it in very bizarre ways. That's not to say that people don't say stupid things on the internet, but as far as I even understood, there was no connection other than that patch, which allowed people to draw the connection as to actual incitement, encouragement, motivation by the Diagonlon Kekistan meme to what happened.
But yeah, and then the RCMP during their press conference alluded to an organization that had leadership outside of Alberta that was controlling these men and providing assistance and resources to these men. This was the RCMP statement. They didn't say Diagonlon, nor did the document say Diagonlon, but they still haven't proven that. There hasn't been a single charge, a single name, or anybody else associated with this incident outside of Alberta or even in Alberta other than the men charged. So even that little narrative did not transpire.
No, and it's so, it all makes sense in reverse now. When I was walking the streets and everyone's like, Viva, why? And I'm reading the chat while I'm walking the streets and everyone's like, why are you ignoring Jeremy McKenzie? And I didn't even understand what was going on until hindsight afterwards, when they were having the debate and they talk about Diagonlon, and everyone in the chat's like, Diagonlon is a joke, Kekistan-esque type thing that these parliamentarians thought was a real organization that actually came up in parliamentary debates. And then I remember seeing more videos, and now it all makes sense. So that was the linchpin of the legal theory, was not that as far as I understood, any of the four men said, yeah, I was part of this Diagonlon and really motivated to do something bad. It was parliamentarians being duped by a meme, and Commissioner Rouleau needing to legitimize the Coutts 4 arrest conspiracy in order to justify the invocation of the Emergencies Act.
Correct. And it's caused a lot of anguish. I'm going to tell you, Viva, because I've spoken to the family, if I had to hear their pain. It's caused a lot of anguish that there are people out there still pushing the narrative that Jeremy took them down, Jeremy put them there. It's causing a lot of frustration because there is a community around these people, and it's a good community. It's just there's some bad actors in there really pushing that narrative, and it's got to stop, Viva. If the best we can do here is just talk about the truth, and there's no evidence that there's any connection.
I can tell you the evidence. I've had Jeremy McKenzie. Oh, the evidence. I can tell you my evidence. I've had Jeremy on a number of times. I trust him, and I think that he has been the victim of this system and not an actor or perpetrator in it. I've spoken to people who are, consider themselves to be members of Diagonlon. First of all, people send me fun stuff in the mail. They love the community, and they love it in the sense that it carried them through this last 3 years of hell, not because it's like a young Hitler or Hitler Youth neo-Nazi group. Men who said this, prevented me from harming myself, where we had this community, we had our network. And then the government, flip side, takes that network, because it does in fact span a country, and turns it into a criminal network as opposed to a support network. The people I've talked to have all said, hearing Jeremy rant, the community that we had, the support community, it gave me meaning and it carried me through hard times. I've never heard any legitimate, credible indication to the contrary, other than stupid politicians who take jokes literally when they want to demonize people to further their unlawful schemes.
Yeah, 30 years ago, it would have been Kids in the Hall that they were trying to say was a big group that everybody's following and quoting and buying merch of, because this is what it is. It's a comedy group. It's for adults only. It's 18 plus for sure. But it's just a group. It's just a comedy group of like-minded people who are passionate.
I'm going to bring this up because I want to address this. Maxim 1. Jeremy is the Canadian Ray Epps. Yes, did Ray Epps go to jail? Did Ray Epps get arrested, held in solitary confinement, get debanked, get his ass hauled across from solitary in Nova Scotia to wherever in Saskatchewan? Jeremy McKenzie, not to get angry, it's like it's a silly thing to say, because Ray Epps never charged, protected by government, praised by government, praised by the bipartisan committee. What's the word? Lionized as the hero that told McKenzie has. I don't say he's had his life ruined, because he's done very well in terms of not letting his life get ruined. Okay, so no, it's a silly thing to say something like that. It makes you look silly. Okay.
But frustration to me too is Ray was trying to get people in there. There's videos of him saying, go, 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 storm. There's video of Jeremy saying, don't throw a snowball. Be gentle. Be nice.
I remember that he said, keep your heads down. Don't give them an excuse. They're looking for an
The
excuse.
complete opposite. So he's the anti-Ray. He's
And
not the same as Ray.
verbatim, he said, keep your heads down and don't give them an excuse. That's one hell of a way to be a Ray Epps. We need to go
100%.
into the Capitol is the 180-degree opposite of don't give them an excuse, don't look for trouble, which is exactly what he said, if not verbatim, pretty damn close, because I remember those videos now in retrospect.
And to just be very clear with everybody, Jeremy was there as a spectator. He wasn't there as a leader. He didn't have a group. He wasn't telling people what to do. He was literally there as a spectator. He even paid for his own parking. We found that out in the POEC.
But hey, full disclosure, I never paid for parking when I went to Ottawa.
I didn't think you did.
If I get a ticket, I'll get a ticket. It's going to be, I mean, the tickets are $52. The parking is going to cost me $25 all day. I hedged my bets.
There you go.
But I found
That's all right. Well, you be careful. You might be charged now.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, that's a situation.
Okay. Then I was saying, in all the gridlock and insurrection and occupation, I found parking every day I drove down. And the parking was 2 blocks down on Elgin Street.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
it was a good event. It was a good event. Do you mind if I talk a little bit about the men? Give you some updates on them?
Please.
Yeah. So I've been speaking a lot to Chris Carbert and Chris Lysak recently. Just let you know, that Chris Carbert is a father of 2. He's the one that raised his 10-month-old. Been with him the entire time. So hopefully he'll be able to get his son back immediately coming out. He was also a small business owner that owned a landscaping company, award-winning in the Lethbridge area. Good gentleman. Chris Lysak, he's also a father of 2 beautiful daughters. I got to meet one of them when I was down there. And he's an electrician. He was working on his master's for his electrician at the time. Both of these gentlemen reminded me that all the messages that were recorded, text message and stuff like that are in the disclosure, they're missing a whole bunch of messages. For example, they're planning to leave the very next day. Both of them were making arrangements to leave the very next day to go to be with their family, both their children's. So these were not men who were looking to take over the government at any point. They were planning to get out of there. Tony Olenek, he was a heavy equipment operator, and he is really looking forward to getting back to his mother, Betty, who misses him a lot. She's an elderly woman who really, really counted on her son to take care of her. She's doing all right now. She's got a lot of good people around her, but Tessie would like to have her son back. And then Jerry Morin, the father of 3, got a wife named Jacqueline. If your viewers have not watched Jacqueline's story, I highly recommend it, because Viva, that was a hell within a hell. Simply being the wife of, she got charged.
Flip me the link. If you could send it in private chat, I'll share it with my community everywhere afterwards. But sorry,
you absolutely will get that. Okay. Yeah, because that's a hell within a hell. Simply by being the wife of, she was also charged. She's still charged. And because she's charged, she can't even go to his trial because she's a witness. So she can't even sit in the room and be part of it. She can't be alone with him. She can't go see him. She can call him, text him, because those are filtered, but she can't do anything else. Her story is horrific, what they did to her and her family and the house. I'll pass you that link because your viewers should hear Jacqueline's story. It's a hell within a hell that nobody's talking about.
All right. The process is the punishment.
It is, but the good news around that family is they're very strong. So what you're going to see when you watch Jacqueline is she is an amazing person. We'll all encourage her to run for office one day because she is definitely that type of person. And it was her conviction and strength that likely saved her jail time. As she takes you through the charges, they're the same. She did, according to her, she went with him. It was her car. Everything they did was the same. Again, no conspiracy to commit murder, never happened. But they let her off because she was very strong when it came to talking to her, trying to ping things on her and getting her to say things that she shouldn't say. Mm-hmm. She definitely was one of the ones that said lawyer first. And I do believe that's what kept her out of jail. She has to suffer a new jail outside of it, but her story is horrific. But she's got a good team around her. They're working very strong to support her, Jerry, and the rest of the men. So we're very happy with that part of it. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight that there is another story within this story that not many people know about, and it's sad. It's very sad.
No, and I know some of these details, and I'm ridiculously neurotic about sharing information that they may not want to share with the public. So I'm glad you're doing it. So if you share too much, it won't be my fault. But
I do have a video. She gave us a 3-hour interview on this, and it's riveting, the entire thing.
And
so I'll share that link with you.
Let me just show you. In the meantime, let's see if I can find the. Here, let's do this. In the meantime, everybody, don't worry. Trudeau's going to movies with this kid.
Wow. We're Team Barbie.
It's It's batshit crazy. I'm gonna go over that a little later, but
There's rumors. Are you believing the rumors? Or you think he's going to
I don't even
LGBT his way
care.
out of this?
It's irrelevant. I wouldn't if I know Slapinski put out an article. Someone invited me to a space yesterday. Is Trudeau whatever? Like, I don't care.
Yeah, I don't.
I genuinely don't care. I know what I think. It doesn't matter. But what, like, I responded to somebody earlier today. What pisses me off about all this? Let me rephrase. People are not outraged that he went to see a movie with his kid. They're outraged that in the same week that he asks for privacy, he then 3 days later posts the most, flamboyantly pay attention to me picture with his kid, whom he just asked for privacy for, while people are literally suffering, while people's children are literally, harming themselves because of the policy of this jackanini. But he's going, we're Team Barbie. What the hell does that even mean is what I also want. What does it mean, we're Team Barbie? Why don't you go see We're Team Oppenheimer? Go see Oppenheimer. Maybe watch a decent movie. It's not going to rot your brain.
Oh my, yeah, he's kind of imploding a little bit, is he not?
It's and also the other thing is maybe I'm projecting my own stress and my own anxiety. He doesn't look good. He looks awful. But I also think that being the worst, most hated person in Canadian history, it's got to wear on you after a certain point in time. And I have no doubt. I know what I think about the wound on his head. I don't think that was from playing with kids, but whatever.
It's a difficult one. My wife has her own theories. It looks like a shoe. She has her own theories.
Oh, a flipping heel, a stiletto.
That's
but
what she's saying.
That's one hell of a shot. It's so symmetrically right in the middle of his forehead. My initial response is, my initial reaction was he came from a Hindi festival. I'm not saying that to be funny. Like, it's so symmetrically right in the middle. It's like it was deliberately placed there. If that was an accidental, someone threw a shoe. Good shot.
Well, they missed Bush when they threw a shoe, but maybe someone got him on this one.
Jeez, a stiletto. That would, because it can't be a paintball. It couldn't be like we went paintballing. It would have left a much bigger welt.
It gets a good bruise, yeah.
Yeah, like around, and then there would have been like the ripple. Like you get the white, then the ripple. Stiletto. Okay.
Is it a horn that's trying to come out? I don't know.
That was my initial joke, because like between the horn on his head and the stuff in his hands. Oh man. Okay.
Oh my gosh. But
so
look, I really appreciate being able to break this stuff about the 129 political prisoners around Canada, and also happy because of you, and I'm sure a lot of other people who are assisting. We are being able to get the message out a lot further now. So we were on InfoWars. We're on some UK stuff coming up.
Amazing. Have you been on? Have you reached out to Steve Bannon?
No, but there's a person who's trying to. So if you got a name, I'll get you Pat King. You get me Steve Bannon. Work this out.
No, for sure. And then and try to generate the not the interest in a cynical sense. I know that I'm getting cranky when I pay attention to the troll comments where there was that article of the young teenager out in British Columbia, I think, denied. I'm going to go over it afterward.
Right.
Denied in Oregon because it's like, if anybody knows the family, tell them to reach out to me, because I'd love to have her on to, so she can share her story with the world. And someone says, grifting, you're exploiting. It's like, you idiots. You realize that the alternative to that is that they should suffer in silence and the world should not know what's happening to them. But I should just stop reading the troll comments. We're trying. I keep telling people down here, they've got to pay attention to what's happening north of the border. This is trickle down communism. Insanity.
Absolutely. And Gabriel Clark said the same thing. So there's a woman down in the States who helped people with transition back to birth gender. I had her on my show to talk about that, because we can't do that here in Canada. We can't have consultation all the way back to birth gender because of Bill C4.
Yep.
It's against the law here. She said the same thing. She said she's seen some of the indicators up here in Canada that we're further along the process, and that the U.S. is maybe 10 years behind, if you're lucky, behind where we're at.
If you're not in California, New York, Michigan, Pennsylvania, but there's some other really wacky states. But it's just the way it happens. It's the Overton window. Jeannie Howe is telling me to chill. What I lack is chill. What I have to go do is exercise after this and get out So 129 various people of various degrees of infractions. The Coutts 4 are the headliners of this political persecution that carries on to this day. Tamara Leach, Chris Barber are having their trial. If it's not in a month, it might be in a month and a half. And Coutts 4 have their trial date, May 2024.
And many, many more. So we'll break a bunch of new names. So James like James Sowery and many more like that. You're going to hear some more stories, and you'll be like, oh, man, there's a pattern here. It just seems like anybody that said freedom is now in cuffs at some point in their journey here.
And I'll say, again, I would say to Ezra, in as publicly, privately as well, the idea that so much weight is placed on the gravity of the charges. I mean, that is almost like saying, well, it's lending credibility to the bogus political persecution in the first place. Well, the lesson to be learned, charge them all with serious crimes. And that way, then no one will ever stand up for their constitutional charter rights.
I'd like to take this chance to actually make an offer out to Ezra, and it's a sincere offer. I really mean it. We'll get him a copy of the disclosure. We can get him a digital copy of it. He can have it all, because I don't understand he has it right now. He's referring to 100 pages that he read that are under the publication ban. Those didn't say the Diagonlon connection. So we're happy to give him a copy of the disclosure and sit down and have a conversation about it. We're more than happy to sit with family, the lawyers, and other people to go ahead and have a conversation with Ezra directly, privately, on stream, whatever works, because we think it's important, because his voice is strong and it is respected. So I think it's kind of necessary to get this part of it correct. If he doesn't want to do that, I don't know what else he can offer other than we'll bring that truth forward.
All right, awesome. Jason, where can people? That's it for the update. And anytime there's more news, you'll come on and we'll keep this going so that we can get this out to as many people. Where can people find you?
Well, you can find me on Rumble right now, because YouTube has suspended me for some virus truth or vaccine truth. So you can find me on Rumble. Yeah. You can find me on Twitter. It's my second strike too, so I'm in trouble. You can find me on Twitter, Rumble, Getter, all the other places, Jason Lavigne MP. And for everybody else, that means member of parliament. But for Ezra, that means media person, because he doesn't like the fact that I use the MP there.
You're an aspiring member of parliament.
Aspiring, correct. Yes. So I am a registered independent running for Yellowhead, which is west of Edmonton. Okay. And I'm happy to announce that, yeah, we're doing quite well out here. We're getting the word out there. But our focus right now is on the political prisoners of Canada, especially Alberta. It's a big problem here.
All right, man. Amazing. I'll put your Twitter handle and your Rumble in the pinned comment afterwards.
You got it. And I put the Jacqueline link here in the private here. It's the last link in the.
Great. I'm going to keep that. Jason, we'll be in touch.
Thank you very much, Viva. You take care, and thank you for the Tim Pool episode. That was amazing.
That was. I forgot to mention a few of the injustices. I forgot Sean Hartman. I forgot. I even forgot who I forgot now. Oh, Gad Sad. I forgot to mention Gad Sad's new book. There's too much. It's flooded to the point of numbness.
You can count on us over here, Viva. We'll collect a lot of this and bring it back to you weekly and give you these updates.
Beautiful. All right, Jason, thank you very much.
You take care, Viva. Have a great day. Oh,
you too. Bye-bye. All right, and we're going to carry this on, people, because we got some stories here. The link to Rumble. But before I do that, I think there was one super chat here. Jeff Pearson, worldwide liberty is dead. No free nation exists. I can't disagree with it. I tell you, like, it's been one of those days. Not sleeping well. And the sad, lamentable state of the world is enough to make you depressed, but not to turn into the monster that you're battling. Just, depressing. But exercise can cure. Look at this. We're going to see Jason in real time as I read the Rumble rants. There's two of them. Mega Man Chronicle says, "Thank you, Viva, for answering my Rumble rant, and hope I wasn't rude in asking. I happily look forward to listening to you and Barnes' streams. You both are very informative to listen to." Mega Man, I can tell you that I wasn't offended. Let me see this here. Hold on. I didn't find anything rude because I don't even remember what I could have interpreted as being rude. So don't worry about it. Wahatonin. Okay, let me just make sure that I'm not reading something that's going to get me in trouble. That cop's name is Joey Bag of Donuts, and he's gun-toting mama's boy. That's from a movie. I know that's from a movie. Okay, so what we're going to do here, head on over to the Rumbles. We're going to go for a little bit here. Link to Rumble. I want to talk about these people who are defending Trudeau. Oh, my God. Do I look tired? I feel that I look tired. I got the bags under my eyes. The lighting has washed out the grimace wrinkle. Right there. All right. Get your butts over to Rumble, and we can rumble away and have some fun here. How many are we? 685. Come on over to Rumble, and then we're going to go over to locals afterwards. Let me see. VNA. Oh, hold on. There's all caps does capture my attention. You're a lawyer, but you never tell the people the root of the problem with the rights in Canada. Oh, this. I'm not getting into this, VNA. I don't know anything about this. So I don't know enough to say it's nonsense. I think I know what I think. I don't know enough about this. And I have legal training, as can be seen from my Université Laval diploma right above my head. All right, come on, get your butts over here. Rumble, ending it on YouTube in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.